Week 5 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few quarterbacks I looked at off the waiver wire this week. The first guy, C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. So Stroud, I've mentioned him over the last few weeks as a pickup, and he just goes out there and he puts up yards and touchdowns on the board for this Texan team. So far, the rookie quarterback, Stroud, he's very poised in the pocket. They got pretty good weapons, Nico Collins, Damian Pierce, Tank Dell, even though we didn't see him do much in this ball game in Week 5. And right now, the last few games here, for Stroud, he's really getting things going. Week 2 versus Indianapolis, 384 pass yards, 2 touchdowns in that one, a fumble loss. Week 3 at Jacksonville, 280 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Week 4 versus a tough Steeler defense, he went out there and got the job done, 306 pass yards and 2 touchdowns. So next week, a good matchup with the Atlanta Falcons, where their defense isn't all that great. And I think C.J. Stroud could be Rookie of the Year this season. So far with the performance he's putting up, the poise he has in the pocket, and he hasn't thrown an interception so far in the first 4 career starts of his NFL career. So right now, we're most likely the last chance for fantasy owners to go out there and get him. He's available right now in 54% of fantasy leagues. Next quarterback, Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. So Sam Howell, he goes out there and competes. I know it doesn't look pretty at times, but right now he's playing some decent football for this Commander team. And they took the Philadelphia Eagles to overtime and lost the ball game. So Howell, I know last week versus Buffalo was a horrible ball game, but the first 3 out of 4 ball games, he's been serviceable for fantasy football. And now Week 5, a good matchup versus the Chicago Bears that we know is one of the worst defenses in all of football, and that could be a potential shootout on Thursday night, obviously, where there's usually a lot of scoring in those ball games. So Week 4, the tough Philly team, 290 pass yards, a touchdown, and 40 rushing yards. And like I said, they got solid weapons on the offense. Terry McLaurin, you got Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, who's been decent so far this season, and Brian Robinson in the backfield. So this week with a good matchup versus the Bears, they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And right now available in tons of leagues at 82%. I would give Howell an ad this week. The next quarterback's Joshua Dobbs of the Arizona Cardinals. So Dobbs, he's come out of nowhere this season. We know he's been a backup bouncing around the league over the last few seasons. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was in their camp. Then he was with the Tennessee Titans. We saw him start a ball game last season. And now here with this Arizona team, besides Week 1, he's had 18 or more fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. Week 2 versus the Giants, 228 pass yards, a touchdown, 41 rush yards, a rushing touchdown. Week 3 versus a good Cowboy defense, he held his own, 189 pass yards, a touchdown, 55 rushing. And then Week 4 at San Francisco, I know they were trailing a lot, but he put in a good ball game, 265 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, and 48 rushing yards. So he's a dual threat here, Dobbs. He runs the football a lot, and he's had this team competing at least. I know they're 1-3 on the season is Arizona, but he's going out there, he's hustling, he's not turning the football over a lot, and they got some decent weapons. Hollywood Brown, Zach Ertz, James Conner, Rondale Moore. So right now with a good matchup versus Cincinnati Bengals, where we just saw the Tennessee Titans offense put up 27 points versus them. I think Dobbs could be a decent ad this week, and he's available right now in 95% of fantasy leagues. Next quarterback's Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. I know Stafford, he was banged up towards the end of the game after the walk-off victory touchdown to Puka Nacua at the Colts with a hip issue. But Matthew Stafford, he's got good weapons, and more helps back on the way here with Cooper Kupp most likely coming back here in Week 5. I know it's a tough matchup versus Philly. I wouldn't use Matthew Stafford, obviously, even though bye weeks are starting now here in Week 5. But the last few games here for Stafford, the yards have been there, but the touchdowns haven't. Week 2 versus the Niners, 307 pass yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Week 3 at Cincinnati, 269 pass yards, a touchdown. In that one, 2 interceptions. And then Week 4 at Indianapolis, 319 pass yards, a touchdown in it though. So right now, Stafford, like I said, he's going out there and he's putting yards with 3 ball games out of the 4 with 300 yards more. And now they get a guy like Cooper Kupp who can run all the routes and make the plays in the red zone to go with a Puka Nacua. This could be a very dangerous offense all of a sudden now over there for this Ram team. So right now, while he's available 50% of fantasy leagues, I would give him an ad this week in the 5th and final quarterback I look to give an ad this week here is Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know Baker and the Bucks are on bye week here. Mike Evans is banged up with a hamstring injury. Well, Baker's gone out there and he's got the job done so far in the first 3 out of 4 ball games here for this Tampa Bay Buck team, where they're 3-1 on the season. So Mayfield, this most likely would have been his last chance in the NFL if he couldn't get anything done. But so far, I know it's been only a month of the season, but he's gone out there and he's put up numbers and victories. Week 1 in Minnesota, 173 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 2 versus Chicago, 317 pass yards, a touchdown. Week 3 versus Philly, a tough one, 146, a touchdown and into. And then Week 4, New Orleans, 246 pass yards, 3 touchdowns and interception in that one, and 31 rushing. So right now, like I said, they're on bye this week. Here's Tampa Bay in Week 5. But after that, obviously, you can use them the rest of the way. And he's got some decent matchups in Week 6 versus Detroit and 7 versus Atlanta. So right now with a bye week, and hopefully Mike Evans gets 100%, I think Baker Mayfield, he could be a quarterback that could be usable for fantasy owners with the bye weeks coming in and deeper leagues available in 82% of leagues. That's a few quarterbacks I look to add off the wire in Week 5 of the fantasy football season.